Rupert Murdoch had proposed reuniting News Corporation and Fox Corporation, which split up nearly 10 years ago. Credit drew anger. Getty Images. Murdoch backtracks on plan to merge his media empire. News Corporation, one of his companies, said Rupert Murdoch had determined that a merger was not optimal for shareholders of News Corporation and Fox at this time. 11 ago. By Lauren Hirsch, Katie Robertson and Benjamin Mullen. Photo. Credit Daniel Stahl. The unknown hedge fund that got $400 million from Sam Bankman-Fried. After the collapse of FTX, prosecutors and lawyers have scrutinized its discredited founder's huge investment in Modulo Capital. 9 ago. By David Yaff-Bellany, Matthew Goldstein and Royston Jones Jr. U.S. accuses Google of abusing monopoly in ad technology. The Justice Department's antitrust lawsuit, which a group of states joined, was the fifth by U.S. officials against the company since 2020. 13 ago. By David McCabe and Nico Grant. Elon Musk said Tesla buyout plan didn't involve a specific number. Under questioning, Mr. Musk said he hadn't discussed how much money investors would put in to help him take his car company private. 13 ago. By Callie Huang and Peter Evis. The newest contraband at the Mexican border, eggs. There has been an increase in the number of people trying to bring eggs into the United States, where the price has surged, driven in part by a bird flu outbreak. By Amanda Hall-Pooch. January 25, 2023. Microsoft investigating networking issue after users report outages. The widely used Microsoft Teams and Outlook email services were among the services affected. By Daniel Victor. January 25, 2023. New lawsuit challenges state bans on abortion pills. The case, brought by GenBioPro, a company that makes one of two abortion drugs, argues that it is unconstitutional for a state to bar access to a medication approved by the federal government. By Pam Belloc. January 25, 2023. Climate change may usher in the new era of trade wars. Countries are pursuing new solutions to try to mitigate climate change. More trade fights are likely to come hand in hand. By Anna Swanson. January 25, 2023. Laid off in your living room, the chaos of remote job cuts. Angst rippled across laptop screens this month, with dozens of companies announcing layoffs and finding ways to breed extra chaos in the process. By Emma Goldberg. January 25, 2023. 5 stars, 0 clue, fighting the scourge of fake online reviews. Third parties pay writers for posts praising or panning hotels, restaurants and other places they never visited. How review sites like Yelp and TripAdvisor are trying to stop the flood. By Maria Kramer. January 25, 2023. Natural gas shortages hit China as temperatures plunge. Local governments starved for cash after enormous spending on costly zero-COVID measures cannot afford to keep up adequate supplies of gas. By Keith Bradshaw. January 25, 2023. Washington Post lays off 20 journalists. A further 30 open positions will not be filled. The overall size of the newsroom is expected to return to its current level after the Post makes new hires in the affected departments. By Benjamin Mullen and Katie Robertson. January 24, 2023. Walmart raises starting wages for store workers. The retail giant said the minimum wages for those employees would range from $14 to $19 an hour, up from $12 to $18 an hour. By Michael Corkery. January 24, 2023. FDA proposes limits for lead and baby food. The agency estimated that the guidelines could reduce young children's dietary exposure to lead by about 25%. By Christina Jewett. January 24, 2023. Victor S. Navasky, a leading liberal voice in journalism, dies at 90. Witty and contrarian, he was a longtime editor and later publisher of The Nation and wrote an acclaimed book about the Hollywood blacklisting era. By Joseph Berger. January 24, 2023. The Albuck Newsletter. Live Nation faces a skeptical Senate. The company's grip on ticket sales, and its move last year to cancel sales for Taylor Swift's upcoming tour, will be a big focus of an antitrust-focused hearing. By Andrew Ross Sorkin, Ravim Tu, Bernhard Warner, Sarah Kessler, Michael J. Delaware Louisiana Merced, Lauren Hirsch and Efrat Livni. January 24, 2023. A dilemma for governments, how to pay for million-dollar therapies. A wave of transformative, but hugely expensive treatments is challenging the budgets of health systems in wealthy nations. Now countries with far fewer resources are wrestling with how to cover the therapies. By Rebecca Robbins, Stephanie Nolan and Dado Gilderi. January 24, 2023. Long COVID is keeping significant numbers of people out of work, study finds. An analysis of workers' compensation claims in New York found that 71% of claimants with long COVID needed continuing medical treatment or were unable to work for 6 months or more. By Pam Bellick. January 24, 2023. Advertisement. Continue reading the main story. Square feet. No open house party. Influencers just want an open door. Developers are teaming up with niche influencers who trade targeted posts for entry into luxury residential buildings. By Deborah Kamen. January 24, 2023. Emailing your doctor may carry a fee. More hospitals and medical practices have begun charging for doctors' responses to patient queries, depending on the level of medical advice. By Benjamin Ryan. January 24, 2023. FDA outlines a plan for annual COVID boosters. In advance of a scientific meeting on Thursday, officials proposed offering new shots to Americans each fall, a strategy long employed against the flu. By Uppa Orvamandovelli. January 23, 2023. Elon Musk says he could have raised funds to take Tesla private. Mr. Musk testified in a lawsuit filed by investors who claimed his 2018 statements about a plan to buy up the carmaker's stock cost them billions. By Callie Huang and Peter Evis. January 23, 2023. For British farmers, the effects of Brexit have become clearer. In the years since Britain voted to quit the EU, many Eastern Europeans have left the country, adding to a shortfall of about 330,000 workers. The food and farming sectors have been hit particularly hard. By Stephen Castle. January 23, 2023. The corporate cafeteria is broken. So how to feed workers? Even as the sprawling dining halls of old struggle with emptier workplaces, food is still important to employees, particularly the young. Many companies are reinventing the company meal. By Kim Severson. January 23, 2023. Microsoft to invest $10 billion in OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT. The tech giant aims to remain at the forefront of generative artificial intelligence with its partnership with OpenAI. By Cade Metz and Karen Weiss. January 23, 2023. Spotify to shed 6% of its workforce in latest round of tech layoffs. The audio streaming platform became the latest big technology company to cut costs over worries about the economy. By Isabella Simonetti. January 23, 2023. The Albuck Newsletter. Activist investors are circling Salesforce. Elliott Management, the $55 billion hedge fund, has taken a big stake in the struggling tech giant, putting more pressure on its co-founder, Mark Benioff. By Andrew Ross Sorkin, Ravim Tu, Bernhard Warner, Sarah Kessler, Michael J. Delaware Louisiana Merced, Lauren Hirsch and Efrat Livni. January 23, 2023. As tax season starts, a beleaguered IRS looks to bolster customer service. The Biden administration is focusing on making the agency more responsive amid concerns that a funding increase will result in more audits. By Alan Rappaport. January 23, 2023. Advertisement. Continue reading the main story. Calling IT quits. You quit your job, but you're still miserable. Now what? What to do when it's not the job, it's you. By Eileen Zimmerman. January 23, 2023. Inflation is cooling, leaving America asking, what comes next? After 6 months of declines, inflation seems to be turning a corner. But the road back to normal is an uncertain one. By Gina Smielek. January 23, 2023. Kroger-Albertsons merger faces long road before approval. Consumer advocates, unions and independent grocers are against a deal that would join Kroger and Albertsons, and be lucrative for investors. By Julie Cresswell. January 23, 2023. Ginny Reddington Dawes, composer of memorable ad jingles, dies at 77. She collaborated on the melodies for signature commercials that sang the praises of McDonald's, Coca-Cola and other brands. By Sam Roberts. January 22, 2023. With interest. The Week in Business, the Debt Limit and Politics. Microsoft and Alphabet, the parent company of Google, both said they would cut thousands of jobs. And initial estimates of economic growth in the U.S. in the fourth quarter come out Thursday. By Laura Kelly. January 22, 2023. As deepfakes flourish, countries struggle with response. Few governments have approved regulations, often because of free speech concerns. New mandates from China could change the tone of the debate on digital forgeries. By Tiffany Shu. January 22, 2023. China needs couples to have more babies. Can IVF help? China is trying urgently to address its declining population. One idea is to subsidize assisted fertility procedures, which are often a last resort for couples and out of reach for many. By Alexandra Stevenson and Zixu Wang. January 22, 2023. How the U.S. government amassed $31 trillion in debt. 2 decades of tax cuts, recession responses and bipartisan spending fueled more borrowing, contributing $25 trillion to the total and setting the stage for another federal showdown. By Jim Tankersley. January 22, 2023. At Davos, European distress over a Made in America law. The U.S. Inflation Reduction Act stirred talk of a trade war, but also proposals for a similar EU initiative to stimulate green investment. By Esh Nelson. January 21, 2023. The Albook Newsletter. Who wants to live forever? Countries and companies are facing an aging crisis, and experts say policymakers and business leaders need to rethink how they deal with older workers. By Bernhard Warner. January 21, 2023. Advertisement. Continue reading the main story. How Charlie Javis got JP Morgan to pay $175 million for. What exactly? A young founder promised to simplify the college financial aid process. It was a compelling pitch. Especially, as now seems likely, to those with little first-hand knowledge of financial aid. By Ron Lieber. January 21, 2023. Retiring. Their children are their retirement plans. The offspring of many East Asian immigrants are raised to support their elders in their later years. That gives a segment of Americans challenges others don't face. By Mike Dang. January 21, 2023. Layoffs at tech giants reverse small part of pandemic hiring spree. Some of the biggest tech companies have announced tens of thousands of job cuts. But even after the layoffs, Their workforces are still behemoths. By Jason Ryan and Laura Kelly. January 21, 2023. Justice Department investigating troubled infant formula plant. Abbott shut down production at the plant last year amid shocking sanitation lapses, touching off a disruptive infant supply formula shortage. By Christina Jewett. January 21, 2023. Elon Musk says his social media posts did not drive Tesla's stock price. The chief executive of Tesla testified in a federal civil trial about a 2018 plan to take the automaker private that fizzled out. By Callie Huang. January 20, 2023. Vice, a beleaguered avatar of new media, hangs a for sale sign. Vice, which has struggled to achieve profitability in recent years, has formed a special committee to find suitors. By Benjamin Mullen. January 20, 2023. Top law firm advising FTX on bankruptcy can keep its job, judge says. Sullivan and Cromwell was under attack for a potential conflict of interest tied to its work for the crypto exchange before the bankruptcy. By Matthew Goldstein and David Yafbalani. January 20, 2023. Tech layoffs shock young workers. The older people? Not so much. The industry's recent job cuts have been an awakening for a generation of workers who have never experienced a cyclical crash. By Trip Nickel. January 20, 2023. Vox Media to cut 7% of workers. The company, which publishes New York Magazine, The Verge and numerous other brands, joins a parade of tech and media companies cutting back staff amid economic uncertainty. By Katie Robertson. January 20, 2023. Your Money Advisor. Savings accounts for disabled people are open to more of them. Only those who became disabled by age 26 have been eligible for ABLE accounts. But Congress raised the age to 46, so more military veterans and others can qualify as of 2026. By Ann Carnes. January 20, 2023. Advertisement. Continue reading the main story. Top Fed officials foreshadow further slowdown in rate increases. Christopher Waller, a Federal Reserve governor, said he favored a quarter-point move. Many of his colleagues agree, or haven't ruled it out. By Gina Smielek. January 20, 2023. The Albert Newsletter. Why Netflix is changing the guard. Reed Hastings's move to become executive chairman may be a sign that the streaming giant thinks the worst may be behind it. By Andrew Ross Sorkin, Ravim Tu, Bernhard Warner, Sarah Kessler, Michael J. Delaware, Louisiana Merced, Lauren Hirsch and Efrat Livni. January 20, 2023. Google parent Alphabet to cut 12,000 jobs. The layoffs amount to about 6% of the global workforce at the company, the latest tech giant to make cuts after a pandemic hiring spree.